Let's see what's going on, y'all. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We are definitely international here on Chill with Chill. Um, Chill, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Hey man, it's the playoffs, Big Ox. That's what's going on. It's the playoffs. Not only is it the playoffs, the Eastern Conference Championship. We got huge implications tonight, brother. Huge.
Very huge implications.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just dive straight into it and talk more about what those implications are and what this game means for everybody involved.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got a question before we get into the actual game. Big Ox, how many coaches in today's game could survive squandering a 3-0 lead?
I would say, well, Eric Spoelstra is one of them.
He not if they lose this series, he ain't getting fired. That's not
No,
happening.
not even a question.
He's
Well,
not getting fired.
I think Eric Spoelstra and Steve Kerr.
Could Pop survive a 3-0
Not
squander?
no, not at this age. Now, if he did that, they would be like Pop's too old. It's time for him to go. He needs to retire.
I think
Um,
Pop, I'm not sure if Pop would survive that. I'm not. I'm not sure if Pop would survive that. The reason why I bring that up, Big Ox, is because I'm thinking about where we have coaches and how important coaching is. And the idea that Steve Kerr would survive losing a 3-0 lead in the Western Conference Championship. I'm not so sure about that, Ox. And the
no.
reason why I'm not so sure about that is because, number one, this would be the second time making history.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
This would be the
That's
second
right.
time making history. But the flip side to that is the flip side to that is what does this mean for Steph Curry? Like if we lose Steve Kerr, what does this mean moving forward for Steph Curry? Does this mean that Steph Curry is now a guy that we have to consider moving off of? Would that mean that? I don't think so, but it would be a topic of conversation.
Yeah.
But when
Yeah.
I think about Eric Spoelstra, if he were to squander a 3-0 lead, I think that his job is still safe. Because all great coaches have something on their resume that's bad. Every last one of them. Phil Jackson, I mean, his team got swept out. Excuse me. His team was swept out the playoffs after they won the NBA championship. I can appreciate the logic. The guys were hurt, but if you step on the floor, you and me have had this conversation, Big Ox. If you step on the floor, you're telling everybody that you're good.
Right.
So that's happened before. You know, every great coach has had situations like that where they've lost in big moments. So to say that Eric Spoelstra in this particular situation, his job would be in jeopardy, I don't think so. What I will say, though, is we are talking about Jimmy Butler different. And the reason why I say that we're talking about Jimmy Butler different is because Jimmy Butler, we had this conversation a couple of days ago. Jimmy Butler is on that fringe top 10 list. For me, I have him as a top 10 player. And I had him as a top 10 player before the season started. And I don't think he's been treated like a top 10 player. And the reason why I feel like that is because there are people who they don't really expect much from him. And when he does it in the playoffs, it's now Jimmy Butler, quote unquote. But when he's in the regular season and he's good enough to make second team All NBA, good enough to be a second team All League defender, he's good. And when he gets into the playoffs, he's Jimmy Butler. Well, if we're going to hold him in high regard when he does this in the playoffs, we got to have that same energy for him if this goes the other way. Because we did the same thing last year, Big Ox, with Devin Booker. The year before they made the NBA Finals. Yeah. Last year, they got smoked in the semifinals. How were we talking about Devin Booker last year?
We were talking bad about Devin.
And
the way he went out to Luka and those guys. That game 7 was horrendous.
And the reason why is because of the standard that he set. Yeah. At that point, he was a top 10 player. And we're going to get to later on, we'll get to how guys become top 10 players and how I rank guys. But I say that to say, Big Ox, when you are at this level there's a certain standard that's now bestowed on you. And squandering a 3-0 lead, you're going to get some heat for that. As an elite player, you're definitely going to get some heat for that. So this thing needs to end tonight. Because I'm being honest with you, Big Ox, there's no way they letting them out of there. There's no way they letting them out of Boston in Game 7 with a win. They ain't letting them out of there.
Right.
They not.
So just kind of taking it back to coaches. Let me go back a step. And I tried to ask y'all this question on the panel too.
Yep.
So we talk about what it would be for Eric Spoelstra and all the coaches to get walked down 0-3.
Right.
What about the coach that does the walking down? Because as we know, Joe Mazzulla has been getting a lot of heat. Yes. I mean, we got a guy that's convinced the world he's cockeyed. I mean, we got Eric Spoelstra. I mean, not Eric Spoelstra. Joe Mazzulla gets a lot of heat. Is it warranted, or what's the deal with that?
Well, number one, if you remember, he got the job by default, right? He ended up getting that job by default. Right. The reason why he was on that staff, not because he wasn't good, because he was good. Danny Ainge loved him. Danny Ainge actually handpicked him, and he wanted to hire him previous, but he took the coaching job in college because he had already committed to it. Danny Ainge wanted to hire him in the past, so it was obvious that he could coach. Problem is, when Coach Udoka got involved in the nonsense he got involved with, he kind of jumped the line.
Yeah.
Now, he kind of jumped the line, and he wasn't exactly prepared to be the head coach of a championship team right now. Like if he got the job with Atlanta, or if he had gotten the job in Portland, I don't think that it would have been a big deal. But this team was just in the NBA Finals. They had 2-star players. They are now the class. They could be the class of the Eastern Conference. And now you giving the job to this guy a young guy at 34 years old, who was sitting by the way, he wasn't sitting in the front row of the assistants. He was in the back row. So for him to do the job that he's done, if he would have walked down, quote unquote, walked down Eric Spoelstra in the Miami Heat, you would have to give him credit. 100%. You would have to give him credit. Now, I personally think that in addition to him jumping the line, I didn't think he was prepared for this job. I felt like this team is ready to win now. I think this is Nick Nurse's job, and he's on the books for a little bit of money. The question is if they lose, do they have the nuts to tell Coach Mazzulla that we good and hire Nick Nurse? Or do they just stick with him? That's the $1 million question. But we do have to talk about him in a higher regard, considering what he's done with this crew. I think they had the second best record in the NBA. Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, you inherited a great team. Well, he could have screwed this thing up. He could have completely wrecked this thing. I've said to you 1,000 times, Big Ox, anybody can train a secretary. You can screw him up too, though. You could completely screw him up. And he could have screwed this thing up. Now, the way he plays conducive to his roster. He doesn't really have anybody that he can go to on a block for buckets. He doesn't really have anybody that he can play through as a big guy like Joel Embiid, like Joker. So his game is predicated on his wing players. That's why they play at the long ball line. There's nothing in between, right? So with that being said, he's still a young coach. He's still learning. But if he would have come back from this would be a big deal. Now, we'll tell you this, Ox, and a lot of people keep saying this. Yo, OG, yo, Ox, it's hard to win 4 games in a row. Well, you know what else is hard? To win the NBA championship. But what happens? Somebody does it every year. Is that correct?
That's a fact.
So we see guys get smoked 4-0 all the time. The Denver Nuggets just mopped the Lakers out the playoffs. The Brooklyn Nets got mopped out the playoffs last year. We see guys win 4 straight games. Now it's a little bit different being 3-0 in the hole. I can appreciate that, Big Ox.
Yeah,
I can appreciate that. They're
calling it a reverse sweep.
Right. I can appreciate the fact that they're 3 games in the hole, but we've seen teams win 4 straight. Teams get swept out the playoffs on the regular. That happens every year.
Yeah, but this is different though.
Absolutely, it's different. It's different in the aspect. Number one, you're talking about an 8 seed going up against a team that was favored to win, not the Eastern Conference Championship, was favored to win the NBA championship, and to mop them out of the playoffs, not beat them, Big Ox, mop them out the playoffs. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And to come back, which I'm posing the question to you, Big Ox, if they would have come back and beat the Miami Heat, would this really be a big deal?
It'll be a very big deal. A very, very big deal. I think so.
Well, the reason why I'm asking you that, Ox, is because they were favored to win the series anyway. And they threw themselves in a hole, right? So you was favored to beat me in this race anyway. You just tripped at the starting lineup. And I got a 20-yard lead on you. You came and walked me down.
Yeah.
Is it that big a deal that you won?
It is, because it's more than a 20-yard lead. When you go down 0-3, like you can't come back from that. Like, well, you can, but you can't let somebody come back from that large of a gap. Either way, I know it's the 8 seed versus 2 seed. It's still crazy, and the 8 seed can't let that happen.
No, they can't.
Jimmy Butler gave Drew Holiday 56 this postseason.
The best perimeter defender in the game, 100%. The best perimeter
Drew
defender
Holiday
in the game.
56, bro.
Yes, he did.
That's crazy to me.
Not just gave him 56, Big Ox. He averaged almost 40 a game against them. Yeah. For the series. He averaged 37.5, 37.6. So he averaged that's almost 40 a game.
Yeah, that's nuts. I mean, he has to pull off one of these 4. Even if it's game 7 in the Garden, if it's TD Garden in game 7, Jimmy Butler, the Miami Heat, they have to win it.
I think they would.
There's no scenario in my mind where it's okay for Miami to lose this series now. There's no scenario that I'm okay with.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Big Ox.
Well, I want to ask you this question before we get to these few super chats that we got, because as we all know, super chats run the show. They are a priority. I will get to y'all in a second. But do you know, on Boston coaching staff, is Damon Stoudemire still on the staff?
No, he's the head basketball coach at Georgia Tech now.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. He took the Georgia Tech job in the middle of the season too, by the way.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea.
Yeah, in the middle of the season, he took the Georgia Tech job. Mm-hmm.
So, kind of taking a step back, though, was this job supposed to be Damon Stoudemire's?
I don't know if it was supposed to be Damon Stoudemire's. It was supposed to be Udoka's job, and he screwed it up. That's whose job it was supposed to be. And I don't think they were thinking about anybody else. They had just hired him. He had only been there a year. They had been to the NBA championship. Well, we clearly have our guy. The guys on the crew love him. They respond to him. So he's going to be around for a while. So when this whole thing transpired, Big Ox, of course, everybody is like, oh, no, what do we do now? We don't really have a replacement. There isn't anybody that we're thinking about off the top of our head because, again, we just got him and he's done a fantastic job. So because he's done a fantastic job, there's no reason for us to look in another direction for anybody else. So a guy like Damon Stoudemire, a guy like Mazzulla, these guys were assistants, and they were going to be good assistants for a long time. Right. When this whole thing jumped off, now we got to start looking for another coach.
Is it crazy that they're in the Eastern Conference Finals right now, on their way to trying to make a historic comeback, something that's never happened before? So, like, the Celtics are actually in a decent position compared to the rest of the league. They're one of the Final Four teams. If you lose in the Eastern Conference Finals now, if you go out in Game 6 in the Eastern Conference Finals now, that's respectable. Mm-hmm. So, is it crazy that I still feel like Ime Udoka left this franchise in shambles? Although they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, I still feel like like the franchise is a mess some way. I just get that feeling. Do you get that feeling too, or am I the only one that?
I'm not going to say a mess, Big Ox, but it's definitely worse. It's worse since he left. I don't think it's in sham. I don't think this whole thing is crumbled. So what I'll do is I'll give you the car reference, Big Ox. So when I brought you back your car, it wasn't wrecked, but they're now. When you gave it to me, the car was clean. gas tank was full. When I brought it back to you, well, there's a dent in the side of the car. There's a donut on the car, and there's no gas. Well, the car isn't wrecked. It's still running, but I didn't give it back to you the way I had it. When you first gave it to me, it was pretty good. Now we're in a position where there's some things that are screwed up here. And for them to go backwards like they are doing, even though they didn't get swept, it's definitely in a worse spot than when he was there. Definitely in a worse spot.
Yeah. I hate the fact that the Celtics, I still believe the Celtics are going to lose. My thing was, if they were going to lose, I just wish they would have got swept. And, I got ulterior motives, but we don't got to get into that. Let's see. We got a couple super chats. First one here from my man FIFA Boy. Morning chilling, Bob. Hope y'all are well.
Yeah, man. Running good this morning. Afternoon on the East Coast. It's still morning time on the West Coast for Big Ox, but yeah, I'm running good.
Yeah, I feel good. We was up pretty late, streaming pretty late last night, but I'm here. It's a blessing to be here. Omar Hansen said, "Could Jimmy be out of gas?"
I don't know if he's out of gas because when you get to this point in the season, this isn't new. This is the third time in 4 years they've been to the Eastern Conference Championship. So Jimmy has taken his team to the Eastern Conference Championship. So he's physically prepared to do that. He's mentally prepared to do that. So I don't think that he's out of gas more than these last two games have just been Boston has been better. Boston has just been better. Now, again, Big Ox, we got some huge implications tonight, man. We do. Yeah. We got some huge implications tonight. But I don't think Jimmy is out of gas. No, I don't think that.
Here we go. With Mavs fan 772. What do you think about the Mavs in 86 with Aguirre, Harper, and Blackman? They were an underrated team, in my opinion.
They weren't underrated. No, they were not. They just weren't better than the Lakers. They were in the Western Conference Championship. Everybody knew who the Dallas Mavericks were. They just weren't better than the Lakers. That was the problem. It had nothing to do with not everybody. Everybody knew who the Dallas Mavericks were. They were better than Denver. They were better than San Antonio. They just weren't better than the Lakers. They were better than Houston, right? They were better than everybody else, right? So that 86 team, they weren't as good. They weren't as good as the Rockets that year. They weren't as good as, they weren't as good as the Lakers. Now in 88, that's completely different. That's the team that I think they went to the Western Conference Championship in 88. Now, that team was better than the 86 team. The 86 team was not underrated. And Mark Aguirre, who I've said this to you in the past, Big Ox, Adrian Dantley, that trade that they made for Mark Aguirre and Adrian Dantley with the Pistons, Adrian Dantley's a better player than Mark Aguirre. Mark Aguirre was a better fit for the Detroit Pistons, which is why they won it. He was exactly what they needed. But that 86 team is not underrated. No, they were not. They were not better than Houston. They were not better than the Lakers. So they were in 88, though. I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought I turned that off. I'm sorry. They were not better than Houston. They were not better than the Lakers. So, but in 88, they were.
Alan R. Celtics in 7. You guys will see soon.
Big Ox,
we'll
man. Hey, man. What I am gonna say is, if they're gonna end this thing, Miami got to do it tonight because I just can't see them letting them out of. They will not let them out of Boston with a win. They won't do it. They won't. They will not let them out of there.
Mar, aren't you the Celtics fan?
Yes, sir. I do represent. I am here to represent.
Thought that was you. I thought that was you. Well, represent, man. That's what you here to represent.
One thing I wanted to say about the coaching job, you were talking about Nick Nurse. I think that they should more go for a guy like Sam Cassell to try and teach Tatum and Brown more like point guard responsibilities, since we don't have like a real ball handler or like a set point guard on our team who's like a really good distributor. I think Marcus Smart makes a lot of bonehead plays. So I would rather have Tatum and Brown taking care of most of the playmaking responsibilities. So I think Sam Cassell would be better than like a Nick Nurse, who's a defensive coach, when I really do think we need offensive help currently.
Are you prepared to move off of Marcus Smart?
For the right piece, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. So like if you were to get a Tyrese Halliburton, would you do that?
Oh yeah. I would trade JB and Smart for Halliburton and Turner and like another piece. Like Duarte, Turner, Halliburton for Smart and JB.
I'm not breaking up JB and Tatum. I'm not doing that.
I think Halliburton would be a better fit with Tatum.
Right.
Because Halliburton, 40% 3-point shooter. And even if you were going to keep, what's his name? Mazzulla.
Right.
He fits that type of play style, being a good distributor and a really good shooter. And I just think JB is really inconsistent in the playoffs from what we've seen from him as of late and in general. He'll have games where he'll drop like 26 in the first half and then he just goes ghost for the rest of the game. And I'm sorry, but you can't have that.
How come when I say that I get roasted? When I've seen plenty of times where Jalen Brown to go 23 in the first half and you won't see him in the second half. But I get roasted for that. I get roasted when I say that. I'm like, I've seen Jalen Brown go 27 in the first half and I don't see anything else from no rebounding, no distributing, nothing else in the second half. Nothing.
Yeah, I've seen it before too. I don't know.
And when he's not scoring, he doesn't really bring anything else. That's his problem. Like Tatum, sometimes even when he's not scoring, he'll get down on himself, but he'll try and make up for it in other ways. Like you saw the game where he went, I think it was 1 for 14 against the Sixers, and then he hit the threes. But if you really watch the game, other than missing shots, he was playing well. Like he was playing great switchable defense. He was playing.
Well, you remember the game.
Good defense, rebounding. He was playmaking. He was still drawing the defense to him.
You remember the game too? I think it was 2 games before that. Didn't he have almost a 20-20 game? I think he went 22. I think he went 22 points, like 18 rebounds and 2 blocks. So he'll do stuff like that, right? So there's another guy that I was thinking about when you talk about a lead guard. Would you call up Memphis and ask for Tyus Jones?
Oh yeah, I was thinking about him, Mike Conley, people like that, where they're steady guards. You know, low.
Mike too old though. He don't fit the timeline. He's too old, kind of though.
Are you sure? Are you sure about that? And the reason why I'm asking you that is because what I'm looking at he's got more tread on the tires than Kyle Lowry, and you see what Kyle Lowry is doing in Miami.
Yeah, but he's off the bench right now though. Also, when he was starting, he wasn't playing as good. I think he's playing as good also because he's off the bench. He's not getting that many minutes. So when he now get more minutes, now because Gabe Vincent out, if he don't play next game, we definitely gonna see a different version of him. So well, we is in a different one. So
this ankle injury, by the way, is way worse than what they're telling us.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. And what would be a good thing as a defense, and I think that they already know this, they're going to go after him. Boston, if Gabe Vincent plays in Game 6, which I think he will, they will go after him.
Yeah,
100% they will.
Because him and Duncan were already their worst defenders, so now he's injured on top of it, and that's just easy liability.
Martin is too.
I feel like Martin's pretty solid. Especially on guards. I feel like they mainly abuse him when like Tatum gets on him, just because Tatum can shoot over the top of him because Martin's like a smaller forward.
Right. He's like 6'5", so yeah, he's still too small. Yeah. Earlier when y'all was saying coaches you think can come back from an 0-3 lead, I think Tyronn Lue could. I mean, he kind of did it when he was in Cleveland. 3-1 kind of. Also, I feel like
before you go any further, honestly, when you look at that, what Golden State that team was, right, and how good they were, is it really that much of a difference?
I mean,
and by the way, they didn't lose to Golden State. I believe Game 4. They smoked them dudes.
Right.
They got smoked. So is it that much of a difference? I mean, I know 3-0 and 3-1. I mean, you did win a game, but against a team like that kind of hill to have to climb, is it that much of a difference?
Honestly, I don't know. But I also seen Tyronn Lue with the Clippers too when he had Montrezl Harrell, Lou Will. Even when he don't have the pieces, if he have a decent enough team, I mean, I feel like he'd be one of the few coaches that could come back from 0-3 league. I just feel like he could be in that category with them. That's all.
Right.
But Davion, the question too is, if he were to lose a 3-0 lead, would his job still be safe? Would his reputation still be safe?
Definitely. I think definitely. Especially after this Clippers tenure. I mean, him doing what he's doing with the Clippers, even though Kawhi injured, Paul George injured, even he's still been in the playoffs consistently every year, doing what he can with the team he has. I definitely think his reputation is going to stand for what it is, and he'll definitely have a job back.
Mm-hmm. That just gave me a new insight on Mazzulla, though. The way he just talked about Tyronn Lue. I remember Tyronn Lue getting dogged when the Cavs were down 3-1. I remember
he can't coach. He only got this job. James made a mistake. Even though all of these guys banded together to get Blatt out. It wasn't just James. It was all of them. All of these guys banded together to get Blatt out, to get Tyronn Lue the job. But he got roasted. They got the wrong guy. You should have kept Blatt. This is your fault. Only to find out, wait a minute. Hang on for a second. Maybe this guy is better than we think he is. Maybe he is. And what we did find out during that time was when he had to check James. I remember there was an incident in the huddle where he's explaining something and James is yapping, and he's basically telling James, "Yo, I got this." A lot of coaches wouldn't do that, especially a young coach, right? But for him to do that, that's where the respect came from. Even more respect, like, "Yo, let me do my job." So in layman's terms, be the quiet. I got this, and he did. So I think that garnered a lot of respect from the guys. But to your point, he did. He got roasted 100%. Ty Lue can't coach. They made a mistake. Blatt was the guy. You didn't give him enough time. They still were in first place when y'all fired him. James was the one who put this whole thing together. When in reality, we had to give it some more time, and they did.
So do you think it's the same thing with Mazzulla then?
No, I don't think it's the same thing with Mazzulla because Mazzulla. Well, but the reason why is because Mazzulla had the whole season, and he didn't get this job like Blatt did. So Blatt, on the other hand, he got fired in the middle of the season.
No, I'm talking about more like Tyronn Lue in the sense that if the Celtics come back in this series, the same way the Cavs came back against the Warriors, like a few years from now, if he's still the Celtics coach, will we look at him more similar to Tyronn Lue in the sense that he overcame something great instead of he was down 3-0, he sucks?
We would have to, because he did it. Yeah, we would have to. I'm not going to say Ty Lue, but Ty Lue could be somebody that you could reference him to, but we would have to talk about him different simply off the strength that he did something historical.
Okay.
I mean, as opposed to them losing and he's just – I mean, is there really a lot of pressure on him in terms of being a coach? And the reason why I'm asking you that is because he got the job. Don't get me wrong. He got the job under duress. He's coaching his Boston Celtic team. If they lose, well, was he really the guy in the first place? Let's take the term. Let me take the term pressure off the table. If they lose, well, he wasn't our guy in the first place. So –
yeah,
I don't think that logic works though.
Why not?
Because when you have the players, you can't just waste years of their career because you don't think he's your guy. Like when you're hiring a coach, you think he's your guy.
Right.
Like Fluent would say the same thing. When you hire someone, they're there to do their job. Like when you hire someone, you expect them to do their job and do their job well.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you can let him off the hook and let the whole team off the hook by saying, well, it wasn't our guy. Maybe next season we'll hire a new coach. Like you guys hired someone. You guys had him last year. You already know who he was. It's not like he's just some new guy who's never coached the players before. So I felt like he should definitely at least get them to the finals, like to the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
So Mar, let me ask you now before I let you guys go. What happens tonight?
I think it's a close game, really close. I'm biased. I'm so biased right now.
Because he's a Celtic guy. He's a Celtic guy. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Gabe Vincent's not playing, correct?
We don't know yet. I'm not sure. We're not sure if he's going to go.
More, I need an answer, more.
If Gabe Vincent's playing, I got the Heat. If he's not playing, I got the Celtics.
Okay, so if he's not playing, you got the Celtics. It goes back to Boston in Game 7. Can the Heat make it out alive?
Absolutely not. Not a chance.
Big Ox, I'm telling you, man.
Not a chance.
They are not letting them. They get them in. I'm telling you, Big Ox, they get them in Boston in Game 7. They're not letting them out of there. They're not.
I obviously, I can get behind that. I don't believe that Jimmy Butler goes out either way, but I can get behind it. But Mark, what you're saying is this historical comeback. It all rides on one ankle.
Yeah, I would say so.
Can you
the
believe
same
that?
way, like any player, like the Bucks could be in the Heat's position right now, and they could be already in the finals waiting to play Jokic if Giannis doesn't get injured in Game 2. Like it happens with every team. Every game can depend on one injury, one tip out of bounds, one missed call, one correct call. It's all semantics and small things.
But think about this for a second, yo. We talking about the fate of the Miami Heat is on Gabe Vincent playing. Crazy. Gabe Vincent. So 2 months ago, we're in May. So in March, let's say March, I said to you, the fate of the Miami Heat getting to the NBA Finals is going to rest on Gabe Vincent. How you feel about that?
I'm telling you, you're crazy.
I'm nuts.
The Heat aren't making the playoffs at all.
I'm nuts.
This the thing about that though, Chill. So knowing because we all know who Gabe Vincent is. We knew who he was before this. You know what I'm saying? So if I was just chilling, just sitting around, that thought would never come up in my mind. But if you presented me with that thought, I could sit down and be like, okay, I can see that. I can see that, because we all, we're not going to act like Gabe Vincent just came out the blue. Now, do we expect him to be this pivotal right now and then making it to the finals? No, I don't think any of us, except for maybe Gabe, thought that. And I'm talking about Gabe Vincent. I'm not even talking about Gabe from PC. I'm talking about Gabe Vincent might be the only person in the world who was like, you know what? My time is gonna come. I will, But with all due respect to Gabe, because he is a certified hooper, I did not expect it to be all this.
They didn't either, Big Ox. Don't let them tell you that they did. No, they didn't. You dudes did not think y'all be in the NBA Finals. You thought that you guys could fight and you had a shot to make a run in the playoffs. To get to the NBA Finals, the Miami Heat, none of y'all dudes was on that roster going, yo, we could go to the NBA championship. No, y'all wasn't. You lying.
Yeah. Well, Devion, I got to keep it moving. We got a full lobby. We got people
to talk to y'all, brothers.
So I appreciate y'all for coming up.
I got Heat winning tonight, man.
Thanks,
Good call, Devion.
If they're gonna end it, they gotta do it tonight, man. They have to. They gotta end it tonight.
Hey, Mark, I hope y'all keep it interesting, bro.
All right, brother. I think we got a dude in the chats named Brandon who says Brandon Katz is his name. That says that Ty Lue didn't do anything. Just so you know, yes, he did. Yes, he did. He anchored that team. It wasn't just because James and Kyrie Irving were awesome. He ran damn good sets. He had damn good defense. He was the one who told Kevin Love, yo, you could tell James to give you the basketball. He wasn't just there. He was instrumental in what they were doing. They did trust him. They trusted his schemes. Now, of course, what happened with the Clippers is now proving is with the Clippers, what he's proven is I can coach. If I could get guys to stay healthy, health is my issue. That's all my issue is. Health is my issue. If I could get guys healthy, we having a completely different conversation. So the idea of Brandon, whatever your name is, that he didn't do anything, this is some LeBron propaganda, and I'm not interested in it at all. I think your logic is garbage, straight garbage.
Let's get back to some of these super chats. Brandon Katz wants to, the link's out there, bro. The link's out there.
Yeah, it is.
Anything said, the link is there. Quick one from Zane. Rate my dream team: Gary Payton, Michael Jordan, Tracy McGrady, Kevin Durant, Hakeem Olajuwon.
They don't beat Magic, Kobe, LeBron, Tim Duncan, and Jabal. They don't beat them.
No, they don't beat that team. But I do like this team.
Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all.
They definitely, they got some.
Not bad.
Yeah, they got some action, but they're not beating some of those other teams that we put together. Yo, OG, this is from Matthew Byrne, by the way. Yo, OG, what trades should my Clippers make?
Well, the question that needs to be answered is what's the plan moving forward? Are we holding on to Kawhi Leonard? Are we holding on to Paul George? Because we don't know from a help standpoint what these guys are and what they've been. Because we don't know what these guys are going to be moving forward. We know what they've been. So they opening up that building. I think in the 24 season, 24-25 season, you can't open up that building with nothing. Right. So, like I said, I think Leonard has 2 more years and then I think he's over. But in terms of trades, there is no quick fix with the Clippers. None. I think you are going to re-sign Russ. I think you need to get some more help in the post, some more post scoring. And more than anything with the Clippers, guys need to be healthy. And if you're going to trade anybody, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George got to go. Because they're the problem. The reason why you guys aren't advancing, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, these are the guys who you count on the most. And where have they been in the last 2 years? Leonard missed the playoffs again. Last year, he missed the whole season. The year before that, he got hurt in the Western Conference semifinals. So if you're talking about trading guys, you can make the argument that this whole thing needs to get blown up if you're talking about winning it. Because what's to say that Leonard isn't going to break down again? What's to say that Paul George isn't going to break down again? So you're talking about making trades. That's where you start.
Yeah, it's Chill-town. It's looking real ugly down there right now.
No, Matthew thinks that there's something that's a quick fix. When in reality, Big Ox, this car doesn't need a carburetor. The engine is bad.
Right.
That's the problem with this car. This isn't change this tire, change this wheel, and we could be right back in it. No, the engine on the car is bad. So we might have to consider getting a new car.
Yeah.
Because to fix the engine might be too expensive. It just might.
And you say Kawhi got 2 years left? You think he can play?
I think that's as far as I'm going with him, Ox. 2. That's as far as I'm going. I ain't going past 2.
I gotta sit Kawhi down if I'm Donald Sterling. I gotta sit. What's his name? My bad. I just called him Donald Sterling. Ballmer, yeah, Steve Ballmer. Mm-hmm. If I'm Steve Ballmer, I gotta sit down with Kawhi and have a real heart to heart, like yesterday.
Right.
We gotta work something out, Kawhi, because this ain't it. And y'all know I love Kawhi.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Sims, getting personal. Chill. What's your occupation, if you don't mind?
Oh, I'm in the podcast business. This is what I do. This is me. I've spoken to Ox and I have had this conversation of what I've done in the past, being a corrections officer, being a school teacher, working in the airline industry, and I pushed all my chips to the front of the table. And I'm in the podcast business. That's what I do.
Chill is not frauding, he is potting.
Yeah, that's what I do. I'm in the podcast business. When somebody asks me, what do you do for a living? I'm in the podcast business.
Daniel Smith, how do you think Wemby will be used as a scorer?
Like Ralph Sampson was. You're gonna see him getting the ball off the backboard and going with it a lot, being a playmaker. You're gonna see him in the half court. They're gonna have him in the mid post. They're gonna have him in the mid range. They're also gonna have him on the long ball line, but I don't think he's gonna be on the long ball line as much as he'll be like in the mid post and in the mid range.
Yeah, stretching
the defense. Getting the defense off balance. He'll be used in a number of different ways. He's one of the better passers for his size. They're going to use him in transition as a ball handler. He's going to run the floor, but as a ball handler, they're going to use him in transition as a scorer, stop and pop. I think he's going to be great. It's going to take some time, but I think he's going to be great. Like I said already, I think he's the future of basketball.
Sadie, the link is right there.
Hey, first and foremost, before we go any further, you minions in here, my name is not Grill Town because I don't get cooked, okay? It's Chill Town. None of you dudes in here that say, quote unquote, Grill Town, none of y'all dudes can cook me. Not one of you dudes. You dudes sit behind your keyboard and you talk a lot, but not one of y'all will come in here and come with the drama. None of y'all. I guarantee you that. But you'll sit behind your keyboard and you'll talk about me. So my name is not Grill Town. It's Chill Town.
Zane, I'm telling you, I could kick a couple of these cats out the lobby just to make a little room for you. You know, they'll understand.
Mm-hmm.
But Zane wants to know, or he wants you to know that PG and T-Mac clear Jason Tatum.
I don't think that they can. In fact, that's who I think Jason Tatum is. I think he is what Tracy McGrady was supposed to be, barring health issues. That's who Tracy McGrady. When I watch Jason Tatum, that's who Tracy McGrady was supposed to be. But in terms of clearing him, I ain't gonna go that far. No, Paul George neither.
Okay, we just did that Wemby one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's all laughs. Let's say Boston goes to the finals. What's the key offensively for them to possibly win? I think it's Tatum's mid-range game to avoid being one-dimensional.
Let me make sure I get this right. Let's say Boston goes to the finals. What's the key to them offensively win? I think it's Tatum. Of course, 100%. I've always felt like that. Jason Tatum's in-between game is the key to them winning a lot because he puts so much pressure on the defense when he does that. When he plays 12 to 15 feet away from the basket, 12 or 14 to 18 feet away from the basket, because he expands the defense. Same thing with Jalen Brown. When they get themselves caught up in just shooting the long ball all night, what they do is they speed the game up for Denver. Because when you're shooting the long ball like that and you're not converting, so you got guys like Joker on the backboard, you got guys like MPJ on the backboard, Aaron Gordon on the backboard. And when these guys, anybody who watches basketball knows this, long shots equal long rebounds. What do long rebounds equal? Transition points. And what you don't want to do with Denver, as good as Joker is as a ball handler, as good as Joker is as a passer, you don't want to speed the game up with him. No, you don't. Because he will pick you apart. No doubt about that.
Facts. They need to get active in that mid-range.
Mm-hmm.
Start out one. Okay. Rolo 555. Better coach, Stan or Jeff Van Gundy?
I think Jeff was more of a player's coach. I think Stan was more of a X and O guy. I dig Jeff Van Gundy for how he handled players. Jeff did more. I'm gonna go with Jeff Van Gundy. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jeff Van Gundy.
Fellas, what's up?
What up?
What's up?
What up?
Y'all better say something. We don't got all day.
Jalen Brown can be moved. I don't know why nobody want to move Jalen Brown. It don't make sense to me. To me.
Hold on real quick. This brother right here, his name is Diddy Knows Ball. And off that statement, he in fact does know ball.
You know,
let me ask you
why he's saying that about you, Diddy?
Diddy, do you know where should Jalen Brown be moved to? Diddy, now let's get to it.
Atlanta for Trae Young.
Never mind.
I want Trae Young in Boston because when I was watching Boston do the pick and roll, they was killing the Miami Heat. Mm-hmm. And just imagine Trae Young and Robert Williams, and then you got Tatum, and then you got an actual closer. He can catch and shoot. Jalen Brown, he could be moved. He get. What's that called? Like tunnel vision, and he's not great at anything. They skill sets overlap, so it's like you just get rid of him. Like he's not a generational talent to me. He's an all-star level player
and an all-NBA performer.
Yeah, but
which is still a top 15 player in the game. And at his best, I think that you can have a conversation about him being a top. At his best, you can have the conversation about him being a top 10 player. At his best.
But just imagine what Trae Young would look like with the Celtics, with that core around him, with Jason Tatum. Like, come on now. Like Trae Young, he complements Tatum perfectly. If you just want to be honest, in that team, because you can hide him on defense, and then he got live threats, he got shooters, he got defenders, everything you need, and then he has a dominant wing. And when Tatum don't have it going, we know Trae can get it going.
Actually,
you're talking about a trade scenario. You're not talking about waiting until next year when Jalen Brown is a unrestricted free agent. You're talking about a trade scenario. So if you're talking about a trade scenario, could we dive into that a little bit and see what would Atlanta take for Trae Young? Because I highly doubt the way that Atlanta loves Trae Young that they just take Jalen Brown in a first round pick straight up for Trae Young. You know,
I mean, you probably possibly would have to give up like a Derek White or a Malcolm Brogdon, a couple picks. But Jalen Brown is from Atlanta, and he already expressed that he wants to be in Atlanta. So, and he didn't express it, but I don't even think he likes Boston.
Well, wait a second. You can't just say he expressed it. He didn't say he didn't express it, but I think he don't like Boston. So what's the deal? You got some inside scoop or what?
No, he doesn't have the inside scoop. He wants Jalen Brown in Atlanta, which is fair. I ain't got no problem with that. He wants Jalen Brown in Atlanta, just like you want Jalen Brown in Sacramento. Right.
Well, see, I'm not saying that Jalen Brown wants.
That's why he said. That's why he was agreeing.
I'm saying that Jalen Brown loves California. He did choose Berkeley over all schools, so you know.
Yes,
he loves Northern California, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Kings just need a rim protector, and they need to move Sabonis to the 4. They need like a rim protector / shooter at the 5. That's hard to find, but if they had like a Miles Turner in Sacramento, that's a real conference finals team, in my opinion. But
we'll see.
You know.
So is there a possibility, Chitchat, that Jalen Brown could end up in Atlanta before this trade deadline? You know, the next trade deadline that comes up, whatever, whether it's this offseason
or even over the summer. Even over the summer. Well, Trae Young. Now, I think the money matches up.
Okay.
That's first of all. I think the money matches up. Number 2, Trae Young being the shot maker, he's pretty inefficient in that aspect. So he throws Atlanta's offense off a lot of times with his shot creation. So that might be a problem. Now, him playing in that Boston system where they crack the long ball a lot, I think that would be conducive to his game simply off the strength of him passing the basketball. That might help him. Now, the question is would Atlanta hand him over to Boston for Jalen Brown? Because if we're going Jalen Brown, you're basically the same thing you're saying about Tatum, and Jalen Brown. Well, you can say the same thing about Jalen Brown and Murray. Because now that's where you are. Add that to the fact that you now don't have a distributor. Now you got a bunch of young dudes. So is Holiday your guy moving forward? Who is your guy at the lead guard spot moving forward?
You don't like DeJounte? You don't like
DeJounte? I do like DeJounte Murray.
He averaged 8 assists with San Antonio.
I like DeJounte.
He did average 8 assists with San Antonio. But true, tell everybody that offense in San Antonio as opposed to in Atlanta.
Oh, 2 different types of offenses.
Not only 2 different types of offenses. He didn't play with the basketball. He played off the basketball too.
The ball, yeah.
He didn't play on the basketball.
Getting set up.
So now
he was like setting people up, things like that.
So now what you're going to do is you're going to give him the basketball primarily with Jalen Brown, who has a tendency, and you know this as well as I do, watching Jalen Brown, who has a tendency to disappear at times. So because he has a tendency to disappear at times, if you're going to pair these 2 together, you're going to get better defense in your backcourt, but you're going to lose a lot of distributing. You're going to lose a lot of playmaking. You're going to lose a lot of shooting. So does this really work for you?
But my thing is, what was Atlanta's record these past 2 years? I can't see them getting no worse with Jalen Brown. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't see them taking. I feel like you can start. That's a good core to start with. DeJounte Murray and Jalen Brown, like you said, that'll be one of the best defensive backcourts in the league, and they'll be very athletic transition. You still got on Kongwu. You got Jalen Johnson coming up. You just would have to shift on how you would build the team. I don't see it, and then you just think like you just switch it to like a defensive team, and then you just add around DeJounte and Jalen Brown skill set. Because I don't see what you can do with Atlanta with Trae Young still there. I feel like something needs to be done between Boston and Atlanta, and so I feel like that's a good trade.
Because what it sounds like to me is what you're saying is, and I want to make sure that I'm clear. The 21 season when y'all went to the Eastern Conference Championship, that's probably where this team peaked. That was it. So they didn't upgrade the roster like they should have. So it's kind of similar to the Trailblazers in 18-19 when they lost to the Warriors in the West Finals. Like that's where that team peaked, and they didn't upgrade the roster. So we're at a point now with the Atlanta Hawks where this is probably as good as we're going to be.
Exactly.
We're probably going to be a 6, 7, 8 seed. We're not moving up any further. So because of that, you want to build the unit around both Murray and Jalen Brown. Now, Jalen Brown is young. Jalen Brown is older than Murray. Older than Trae Young. So would you rather go younger? Because if we building this unit, if I'm getting off Trae Young, I'm getting off Trae Young, and I'm going younger because I'm building this around these two guys. I think DeJounte Murray is 25, 26. Jalen Brown is 27.
My thing with Trae Young, though, is can he be a real one in this NBA? Can he be the best player on a championship team? And if not, why keep trying to rinse and repeat with him? And then you might as well just go with Jalen Brown, the hometown kid, DeJounte Murray, and build around defense and see what you can get. Because if you get these picks from Boston, you have your own picks. You can make other trades on the side, but Atlanta's not getting no better. And then we not sure that Boston can get over the hump. Something has to be done eventually.
Well, doesn't the other team kind of have the leverage over Boston in this trade? Because I believe they're going to lose them either way. I don't believe Boston has any intention on paying Jalen Brown almost $300 million.
I don't think they are neither. They're not doing it. They're not maxing him and Tatum out. They're not doing that.
That's $600 million together right there. So I don't see that happening.
Well, don't think about the $600 million, Ox. Let's just talk about the salary cap. Okay, so the salary cap is at I think it's at about 120. So we're looking at $60 million. We're looking at close to let's see. That's $40 million a season between the two of these guys. Almost $50 million a season between the two of these guys. So that's you're looking at like $110 million of your $120 million salary cap. They taking all the money.
Yeah,
you ain't got no money for nobody else. That's not going to work. I'm not saying that we don't want to do that. We can't do that.
Right.
Hey,
we can't.
And chill. If Jimmy Butler, if he lose this 3-0 lead, man, we got to kill him like everybody else. Because he done been how many conference finals? 3? And he's been to the finals
3 times in 4 years.
Nah. What you say, production? His production means he's one of those dudes. If you've been to 3 conference finals and you've been to a finals, right, and then you lose a 3-0 lead in the conference finals, we got to kill you like everybody else, man.
Well, I just what up?
Whatchamacallit? Well, first I just want to get this off real quick. Because you was talking about the Murray 50, 40, 90. Chill. I want to ask you one ball to see
who was 50, 40, 90?
Jamal Murray in the Western Conference Finals.
In the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah,
Only player in NBA history to do that.
Someone went 50, 50, 80. And I want you and Ball to give a guess who you think did it.
KD did it.
No, not KD. Close.
50, 50, 80.
Yes.
Bird?
Close. No. You was close to KD. This playoffs.
This playoffs. Somebody went 50, 50, 80.
Oh, so Leonard? It was D-Book.
Yes, but he went 50, 50. Yo, because when you said that, I said, hold on, I remember Bucks missing really shots versus the Nuggets. So I did some research. He went 50, 50, 88.
Mm-hmm.
That is impressive.
12 points in the closeout game, though. And second straight year getting destroyed.
But you still can't deny the fact what he was doing, though.
Man, I guess
not just the 12, not just the 12 points in the closeout game. Rewind the clock back to last year. You get smoked on your home floor by 40. By 40, you get smoked on your home floor. There's no way we letting the dude off the hook getting smoked on his home floor when they're the favorites, by the way.
After laughing at a dude, like kind of making fun of a dude too.
Getting smoked on your home floor by 40 last year. I'm good.
And Chill, what you were saying about the giving games away, they're saying Gabe isn't playing, which makes me think, dang, they might actually be giving games away. Because if you would have played him, you possibly could have closed the series. Now he's playing tonight.
So think about that. If you'd have played him, if he plays and they win, the NBA Finals don't start till next Thursday. So I got a whole week off. What happens if they lose? What happens if they lose tonight? Now we got to play Monday.
Facts, but with an ankle, when you roll your ankle pretty good, like 2 days can make a big difference.
Oh, it could. Yes, it could. But also remember too, Ox, he's going to play heavy minutes. He's going to play heavy minutes tonight. It's not like, his ankle's rolled and, we're going to test him out. No, he's going to be on the floor for heavy minutes.
Yeah. 4 days of treatment. We'll see. But because last I checked, he was still
closing it tonight.
We need Caleb Martin to get back to what he was doing too, because Caleb Martin was killing this series. He went.
He had 25 off the bench that one game.
I'm not believing that his knee is just A-okay either.
Nah, And I thought they made a good adjustment on him. The Celtics these last 2 games, their transition defense has been much better, which is where Caleb Martin thrived in those first 3 games. I thought the Celtics transition defense was garbage. I thought Caleb Martin got a lot of open looks, a lot of stop and pop, a lot of stuff in transition. And the Lakers transition defense was real good. And they started crowding him more at the 3-point line. And because they did that, that slowed his offense up.
Those role players go regress to the mean anyway. If you was averaging about 8 points in the regular season, it jumped to 15 in the playoffs, it's gonna probably come back down to like 10 or 12. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna sustain. They go flame out eventually. And it just,
you was talking about Duncan Robinson. He did drop 19 and 9 last game, and you were saying he played not trash, but you were saying like because Ticker was saying why he ain't played more minutes. 19 and 9, that's a pretty
19,
good game.
19 and 9 is good. Even though the game before that, I think he went 0 for 4 on the long ball, and they hunt him on defense. Now I can appreciate the logic that he's not doing anything that nobody else is stopping anybody. So, but he's primarily a long ball shooter. He'll get to the rim from time to time, but he's primarily a long ball shooter. That's who he is.
Heat, please win, please.
I think Boston finna walk them down, man. They shouldn't have been down in the first place.
I'm telling y'all dudes, man.
Chill, if they don't win, in Boston.
I'm telling you, there's no way they get out of Boston with a win. They don't. There's no way that they let them out of there with a win. They don't. Y'all have 4 chances.
Y'all been tracking Tatum's closeout games? Tatum, he been on another level when he closeout games. This run.
Not just closeout games, elimination games too.
Yeah, like elimination. That's what I meant.
Hey, Boone, have you got anything off yet?
Nah, we're just waiting for everybody.
What up?
Don't wait too long, brother. We got to keep it moving around here.
I know, man, but you know what I'm saying? It's just I woke up today and I just had a massive headache because I'm trying to figure out what the heck is going on, man.
What's going on?
Yo, chill. I gotta ask you something, man. In 2011, when LeBron played Dallas, he had that meltdown. We was just trying to figure out, like, what the hell is going on?
What happened in that series?
What's driving me crazy? Now it's happening again. And guess who the player is?
Who's having a meltdown? Jimmy Butler.
No. Why is Bam Adebayo not playing like? What is wrong with this guy?
He sucked.
I think he had 3 rebounds. Bro? I think he had 3 rebounds.
Why can't he grab 10 rebounds?
He had 3 rebounds. Game 2, he had 17 boards, chill. 17.
The second best player on the team playing like Derek Coleman.
He a 4th option in a second option role. That's the problem.
Chill. Can you tell Shaq to call Bam before the game and tell him to grab 10 boards, please?
A lot of that stuff is effort stuff, no doubt. Bam got one of those games where he runs
10 points, 3 boards.
He runs the offense. Like Bam isn't nearly when Bam is aggressive. He's one of the best players on the floor, 100%.
He's the best big in the series. He's playing like the worst big.
And that's
Al Horford got more rebounds than you?
Yes, Al Horford. More rebounds than him. Yes, Al Horford got more rebounds.
40. What is that?
You also have to remember too that this is customary to who Bam is. What I mean when I say that is he'll have a 20-10 series. He'll have like what he did against the Knicks or what he did against Milwaukee, and then he'll have these stretches where he'll get back into being non-aggressive, and he looks like he shouldn't even be out there. And they do a good job in neutralizing him, though. They do a good job. The Boston does a good job in gang rebounding. We gotta recognize that it ain't just Bam against Al Horford. When Al Horford and Robert Williams and Marcus Smart and Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown are on the floor, they gang rebound. So they do a good job at gang rebounding and keeping Bam off the backboard. Now, Bam could be more aggressive offensively. I think I've always struggled with this with Bam. I don't think Bam trusts his game because if Bam trusted his game, he'd go to it more.
He would kill if he actually was aggressive. He would kill.
I just don't. I don't think he trusts his. He'll have those games where he goes 7 for 17, and I'm cool with that because he's actually shooting shots that he can make. He's just off
versus 5-6 shots.
Right, and then he'll have games where he'll go 2 for 7. And I'm thinking, that's it? You got to at least give yourself a shot. So I think he gives himself a shot tonight. I'm not gonna say that this is the meltdown of James in the NBA Finals, but he's got to play better. He's definitely got to play better. 100% he does.
I don't think Gabe Vincent's the key. Everybody was saying Gabe Vincent. The Heat could beat the Celtics without Gabe Vincent because the Heat have a lot of guards.
No.
They already down here.
The Heat have a lot of guards. Gabe Vincent is not even playing. Like one game.
Yeah, like 220-point
games. The games that the Heat won, he played terribly.
Yeah, I believe that if Max
the games that the Heat won, he plays terrible. You know,
Max Strus and Duncan need to do something.
He averaged 18 a game in this series. Shooting over 50%.
He had one good game.
No, he didn't. He's averaging 18 a game in these series, shooting over 50%. Now to take 18 a game out the lineup, to take 18 a game out the lineup, that's a big deal.
The Heat have a lot of coverage, though.
No, they don't.
Yeah, we don't.
Oladipo gone. Oladipo gone. Hero gone. Now we're left with Duncan Robinson, and now Highsmith is coming off the bench. He was a dude that was on a two-way track.
But I'm not going to comment on the playoff game, but he's solid. Caleb Martin stepping up. Duncan Robinson could shoot when you give him minutes. What did he do when he had minutes? He put in work.
He did. Yes, he did.
The real question, Chill, is what we doing with the Heat after this falls apart? The real question, Jimmy and starting over.
Kyrie Irving.
Nah, he don't fit Miami culture.
Yeah, he ain't gonna show.
If you see it's a culture with Miami, you kind of see their culture, their dirty work.
You big time see the culture. I know the Heat culture. I'm just saying they're gonna have to do something. I don't know.
Go get Dame. Don't get Kyrie. Try to get Dame.
We're not giving up for Dame. Hero?
Well, yeah, you can't give up nothing. But
I'm gonna tell you what I'm not doing. I'm not moving Jimmy Butler, and I'm not blowing this thing up.
We got to get Lowry.
How you can get him over the hump? How you gonna get him over the hump though, Chief?
Well, there's the problem. Sometimes teams are just who they are. So like this Miami Heat team, they might have peaked. Like this might be it for them. What I mean when I say this might be it for them, this might be as good as it gets. Like if they end up losing, or let's just say they get to the NBA championship and Denver serves them. That's it. This is as good as this team is gonna be. Now, you got an aging star in Jimmy Butler. I think he's 34. Bam, Bam is I think they maxed Bam out, so he's not going anywhere. Now, to pair Jimmy with another star, the question would be who would you pair him with? Are you willing to tell the Portland Trailblazers we'll hand over Hero and Bam for Damian Lillard? Does Damian Lillard get them over the hump?
Not if
not without Bam.
I don't think so. I don't think so. That doesn't work. So, what exactly is it that you're missing?
I think they just need to run it back because they got a lot of injuries right now.
They do, and that's going to happen again. That's not like like they haven't been. You know, they've been beat up before. Kyle Lowry's still on the books, so Kyle Lowry's coming back next season. Kyle Lowry's not retiring.
But you gotta think about it, Chill. You got Kevin Love, he's older. Jimmy's getting older. Kyle Lowry is older. Like it's only so.
This is kind of like a vet unit.
You gotta get rid of this, man. Start over. If y'all lose in another conference finals, you gotta get rid of this because it's like there's no point. If you run it back next year, are we sure they gonna make the play-in? Because
there's a reason why they were in 8th place.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they were in 8th place this year. Even though without the play-in tournament, that's a playoff team. But there's a reason why they were in 8th place.
Yeah, there was a 7 seed before the play-in.
Right.
Imagine what the Heat could do with some actual top picks. If they actually get top picks, just imagine what they can do if they doing all this with undrafted guys. Imagine them hit the reset button with the Heat culture and a top 10, top 5 pick. That's
some of those prima donna lottery picks don't fit well with the Heat culture. Though.
No, they don't. They do not.
But fellas, I gotta keep it moving. We got a bunch more to get to today. So
yes, sir.
Appreciate y'all pulling up.
Appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. All right, fellas. Be easy. Take it light. Yeah, that Miami Heat roster, man, definitely needs to be upgraded, Big Ox. I mean, you can only go so far with Jimmy Butler and a bunch of background singers.
Right.
You can only go so far.
I'm not a fan of blowing it all the way up, though. I think they'll be okay. Okay, let's get back to some of these super chats. Um, what do we got here? We got one from Reggie the Tree.
Mhm.
Hey fellas, thank you for helping my Saturdays. Two questions. Does Mark Price get enough respect when we talk point guards? And who would you rather have, Steve Francis or Marbury? Stay encouraged.
So number one, the problem with Mark Price is he played in an era like today where there were a bunch of awesome point guards, and he still thrived in that era. So he was running around with Stockton and Isaiah, and Magic, Penny Hardaway, Jason Kidd, Gary Payton. He was running around during that time. So he does get overlooked, even though he was a first-team All-NBA performer. And the fact that they couldn't get past the Bulls, that kind of diminished how good he was. You know, he was one of the better sharp-shooting guards in the game. He would be awesome in today's game. 100% he would be. So I don't think that he's underrated. I just think that a lot of people forget how good the point guard roster was back then. Again, Magic was running around. Gary Payton, Fat Lever, Jason Kidd, Penny Hardaway, Stockton, Tim Hardaway. So it was awesome point guards. Kevin Johnson. It was awesome point guards during that time. So a guy like Mark Price, who was in Cleveland, and I mean, if we're gonna be honest, let's be honest. Nobody really cared about Cleveland unless they was playing the Bulls.
Right.
They didn't really care that much about him, and he was awesome. He was an All-Pro, plenty of years, made first-team All-Pro, and he does get the respect from people who know the game. But he was just running around during a time when he was running around during the time when that point guard roster was super deep. Now, to answer your question about Steve Francis and Marbury, just so you guys know, when Marbury retired, I think he was one of 4 point guards. I think it was Oscar Robertson, Marbury, Walt Frazier, and I think Steve Francis to average 20 and 8 for his career. Wasn't many guys that could say that they did that. Steve Francis was just nice.
Yeah.
That's what Steve Francis was nice. I don't think he's better than Marbury, though. No.
Yeah. As much as I love franchise, I think I got to go with Marbury, too.
Yeah, he wasn't better than Marbury.
What do we got from Poggy? There's reports today again saying the Nets are interested in Dame. Should they pursue him? Dame, Bridges, Clax, Cam Johnson, and Cam Thomas.
Well, the question is what are you going to give up for Dame? And make sure we're clear, because I already know where you at with this Brooklyn thing. Take Bridges off the table. The Brooklyn Nets have made it clear he is not available. They are not interested in moving him, especially not for Dame. So and add that to the fact that the Portland Trailblazers, that contract that he has with them, the last 2 years of that contract is $58 million and $60 million. So the money got to match up. And what do the Brooklyn Nets have in terms of money to match that contract? They don't have much because Cam Thomas and Cam Johnson, both these dudes still on their rook deals. Claxton isn't making a lot of money. So how would you make that work?
I don't know. I know one thing. That man Dame is getting paid.
Yes, he is. And rightfully so.
Shamar Trusty. If the Lakers were to acquire Trae Young in a trade, what does that do for AD and Bron?
Not much. I don't think so. I don't think it does much, to be honest with you. I really don't think it does. It brings them another ball handler like what they had with Russ. And now what we're doing is we're taking him off the basketball like they did with Russ, and they're changing up his game. Trae Young is a guy who plays with the basketball. Why would Trae Young be on the Lakers with James being the primary ball handler? Now, if James wasn't in the lineup and Trae Young and AD were in the lineup, we could have that conversation. But Trae Young, that's like Gary Payton and Stockton on the same team. No, we got two primary ball handlers. You dudes, a lot of times, man, and I don't mean you, Trusty, but a lot of times when I hear these scenarios of these players, it's almost like 2K, Big Ox. Like they be putting together rosters like 2K. And I'm thinking to myself, and I don't even play video games, but I'm thinking to myself, like, what are you guys doing? Like, that's not the way this works, yo. It's not.
Sports PSP, Randy Moss or T.O.?
Terrell Owens was the hardest Randy Moss was more talented. Terrell Owens was harder working. And if I had to pick between the two, I got Randy Moss ahead of T.O. I do.
Yeah, for sure.
I do. And I'm a big time T.O. fan. T.O. was awesome. I got Randy Moss ahead of him. Not by much, but I got him ahead of him.
Looks like Wayne Go Crazy is pleading for help, Chill.
That's what it looked like.
Can't do this to me, man.
My man, blood pressure up. He like, yo, finish this. Stop playing with me.
Yeah, Wayne, keep your head up, brother. Keep your head up.
This thing got to end tonight, brother. It has to. This thing got to end tonight.
Diddy knows ball. Who's the face of the league going forward?
A lot of people don't want to say this, but it's Giannis.
Is it?
I think it's Giannis.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I think it's Giannis.
So, Chilltown, this is perfect segue because I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things.
Yep.
So, speaking of who's the face of the league going forward, it leads me to think about how it's always just new. Who's him now? Who's him now?
Right.
Who's the face of the league now?
Right.
Like, why are us as basketball fans, basketball analysis or what have you, why are we so quick to want to move the next guy up the ranking? Is it happening too fast? Are we giving guys crowns that they haven't earned? Are people getting ranked higher than they deserve to be ranked? What's up with is it a new cultural thing? Is it the Gen Z millennials that want just instant gratification? What's going on here?
That's exactly what it is, Big Ox. We live in a YouTube microwave society. Everything is right now. Like I hear a lot of people talk about Jamal Murray as a top 10 point guard in the game, and Jamal Murray is him. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. We hadn't seen this dude in almost 2 years. What track record do we have? So I bring up a guy like Kobe Bryant, for example. So 05-06, Kobe Bryant, first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, led the league in scoring. Kobe Bryant, 06-07, first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense. I think he led the league in scoring again. Kobe Bryant, 07-08, league MVP, losing the NBA Finals. Kobe Bryant, 08-09, first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, wins the NBA championship, wins the Finals MVP. Kobe Bryant, first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, wins the NBA championship again, wins Finals MVP again. As much as I felt like James was the better player, I couldn't deny the fact that Kobe Bryant was the best player in the game. And why couldn't I do that? Because of my consistent logic with how I felt about Tim Duncan. Rewind the clock back. Tim Duncan, 98-99, first team All-NBA, first team All-Defense, NBA champion, Finals MVP. 01, 01-02, 02-03, league MVP, NBA champion, Finals MVP. 5 years, 2 NBA championships, 2 league MVPs. There's a track record there. I'm not just going to talk about a guy who's having a run that all of a sudden he's him. Well, what happened to a guy proving it? They could get bounced next year. Denver could get bounced next year in the semifinals, and he can have a bad series. Jamal Murray could have a bad series, which I don't think he would, but he could have a bad series. And the next thing you know, he's not him anymore. Well, the reason why he's not him anymore is because he was never him. We need to, there is a track record. There's consistency that has to happen before he becomes that. Jimmy Butler's a prime example of that. Over the last 3 years, Jimmy Butler has built a resume that we could talk about him like that, as opposed to a guy who just showed up in the playoffs one time, and now all of a sudden, this guy is a top-tier player, and we're talking about him like we talk about the rest of the guys. Like what those guys did in the past doesn't matter, especially what they're doing now. No. And again, Big Ox, we live in a YouTube microwave society, and everything is right now. That's why we see people rating people like that. I don't do that. And the reason why I don't do that is because I care about what you do, and I also care about what you did in the past leading up to that. That's why Giannis was considered the best player on the planet. Back-to-back league MVP. 2 years later, wins the NBA championship, wins the Finals MVP. He's the best player on the planet. Not because they won the NBA championship, but all the other stuff leading up to that. That was just the stamp.
So, Chilton, for all the guys out there, including myself, that like to make lists and rank the best players today and all this and that. Before we embark on that, you got any words of advice for us? Like how can we do better? What do we need to start taking into account?
I think we just need to start taking into account consistency, watching a guy and watching him over time instead of just watching him right now. And then the next guy, watching him right now. Watch this guy over time, because if you watch this guy over time, you can recognize, okay, this guy's going to be something moving forward. This guy's going to be something in the future, as opposed to Jamal Murray, who just came off a catastrophic injury. We don't know if he's still going to hold up. He might just be having a great year. I'd like to see him continue this trend before I'm able to start talking about him like we talk about the best point guards in the game or the best lead guards in the game. I'd like to see this continue. I don't want this to just be right now, because if I'm just going off right now, it looks great. Well, what happens next year when it goes the other way and he's not as good? Right. There's no track record there. Just this one season, that's not good enough. So my advice would be to, if there's a guy that you're digging, watch this guy and watch him over the course of time. That way you can develop an idea of who this guy's going to be in the future. That's why we have guys become great players. Luka, there's a reason why we talk about Luka as a top 5 player, because not only what Luka did in the regular season, what he was doing in the playoffs, being a first-team All-NBA performer, even though they got knocked out in the first round, then taking his team to the Western Conference Championship. Now, we're talking about Luka different now because his team went the other way and he underperformed. But moving up to that point, he had developed that track record. So I think that we got to start watching guys more, not only watching guys more, paying attention to their games to see what this is going to turn into, as opposed to just anointing guys right now.
Let me see real quick. We just got something in from JJ. He says, we've been talking about Jamal Murray because he been that guy. He showed that in the bubble, got hurt, and now we're talking about him again. I'll mess with you, chill, but
that's not true, JJ. That's not true, JJ. So he had that run in the bubble. That was 3 years ago. Let's see, 1920, 2021, 21, 22. That was 3 years ago. He got hurt the next year. So the bubble was the last time you saw him like that. You hadn't seen him like that since then. That was 3 years ago. Now you see him like this season after being gone for 3 years, and now you want to put him right back up there? Well, wait a minute. We don't know how good this guy is going to be moving forward. We just know how good he is right now. That's not good enough. That's not how great players stay great players in the game. They don't stay great players in the game because they have one great year or 2 great years. They stay great players because they've been consistently great over the course of 2, 3, 4, 5 years. That's why Joker is talked about the way he's talked about. So I'm not buying that logic at all. No.
Yeah. So speaking of Jamal Murray and the Denver Nuggets, last time we talked about it, it was, especially me, I was kind of the understanding that Miami was coming out the East. Now that I'm forced to kind of be a little more open-minded about it, is there any way that Jamal Murray, Jokic, the whole squad over there, are they at all concerned about Boston? Is Denver just are they cool either way?
When you get to this point, it don't matter who you play, Big Ox, right? When you get to the NBA Finals, you looking at whoever is there, and the idea is to win the NBA championship. It doesn't matter who's in front of you. Now, we might match up with this team A better than we match up with Team B, but I don't think that they're that concerned about that because we're here. So because we're here, there's a reason why we're here. All we have to do is continue doing what we're doing. Now, I don't think that playing against the Boston Celtics or playing against Miami is as difficult as playing against the Boston Celtics. I think that playing against Boston would be a lot more problematic because how much they spread out the defense. Not only how much they spread the defense, how good they are in transition, how good of a defensive team they are, how deep they are as a team. So I think that it would be a little bit more problematic playing against Boston because you got to scheme more against them than you would have to against Miami because they're depleted. But I don't think Denver cares one way or the other. I think that they're looking at both of these teams like bring them.
Ethan, the depressed cat fan, he has something to say about that. He said, "This ain't the panel, so I'm not going to troll. But if the Denver Nuggets win the chip this year, Jamal Murray will be an all-star next year."
Which he may very well be an all-star. I got no problem with that. But with him being an all-star next season and being an all-NBA performer next season, what has to happen now is this has to continue. This can't just be this can't just be him doing this 1 year and then like he's good next year, but we still talking about him like what he did last year. We have to talk about what he continuously does. I'm not saying that he ain't nice. That part I'm not saying. What I am saying though is before we anoint these guys and put these guys in the same category with this guy and this guy and this guy, I'd like to see him do it on a more consistent basis.
Yeah, I don't think they need to win the championship in order for him to be an all-star though. I think he's on his way.
Yep.
I definitely agree, and I wanted to harp more on the Tim Duncan subject. A lot of it, in terms of select all-time greats, whether at his position or in the top 10, I thought it was more Tim Duncan's resume. You know, from regular season to postseason, from 1997 all the way to about 2005. I think Tim Duncan obviously had one of the best starts to an NBA career that you can have.
First team All-NBA as a rookie. First team All-NBA as a rookie.
All defensive teams, all of that in terms of the accolades just started to pile up. But in terms of player to player, I never thought Tim Duncan was better than Hakeem. I don't even think Tim Duncan player to player is better than Kevin Garnett. Be honest with you. So I think it was more so his resume. You know, I think Tim just had a great career and had a great resume, and the accolades started to pile up. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the eye test and just looking at him just straight up, I never thought Tim Duncan was better than Kevin Garnett ever.
Which is because he's not that exciting or what?
No, because Kevin Garnett, the thing is, he brought more of the same things that Tim brought, but he brought a little bit more in terms of versatility. Like Tim, like you was okay. It was at a point where you was okay in his first 6 to 7 years. You was okay if Kevin Garnett switched out on the Allen Iverson or T-Mac. You was all right with that. If Tim Duncan switched out on T-Mac or Allen Iverson or one of them, you was like,
No, you wasn't barbecue chicken because I saw him switching out on Kobe Bryant. I saw him switching out on Latrell Sprewell. I saw him switching out on guards, and he was not getting cooked. That's not true. That is not true. Now, he didn't do that on the regular, but that's not true. Add that to the fact that don't make it sound like Kevin Garnett would get cooked by Allen Iverson. He would get cooked by Kobe Bryant. So it's not like Kobe Bryant wasn't cooking everybody. So when I'm thinking about Tim Duncan, because you just brought up a real interesting point. You talk about the resume. Well, Leaf, how did I develop that resume? I developed that resume not just from the eye test, because I can appreciate the eye test, but it also comes to fruition what I produced. Because you know me, Lee. I care about what you look like as a player. That all of that stuff looks great. But what I also care about is what did it lead to? And with Tim Duncan, even though it was bland, it was vanilla, it led to a lot more.
That's true, but it also led to the highest team success. Anytime a franchise win 50 games for 22 straight years, you got a lot to do with that. You know what I'm saying? So I applaud him for that. Him, Pop, the organization, all of that. But what I'm saying to you, but like it was at a time where we couldn't look at numbers. You remember that time? Bobby?
Basketball Reference wasn't going on. We couldn't do that. We had to watch the games. We had to watch the game.
We had to watch the game and figure out who was a dog and who wasn't.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And to me, in terms of how the team was constructed and what they had around them, star to star, player to player, I never thought. Did you ever think Tim Duncan was player to player better than Hakeem?
At that point, no, I didn't.
I got Tim Duncan number 4, and I got Hakeem.
I got Tim Duncan over Hakeem because of his resume.
Right. I got Duncan at 8. I got Olajuwon at 9. So
I got Duncan at 6
That's due to the
Hakeem
resume
at,
and the
8.
production.
I
Right, Joe?
got Duncan at 6 and Hakeem at 8. But
you're not finna Leaf. You're not finna come up here and tell me that Tim Duncan ain't better than Kevin Garnett and Hakeem Olajuwon.
He's not. He's not, Bob. He's not. It would be facetious for you guys to say that Tim Duncan is not a beneficiary of having great coaching.
KG and Scottie Pippen, my favorite players all time, bro. And I'm just not going for it.
But you said Hakeem. Now,
what does
KG's
Tim Duncan do that KG doesn't?
Hell no. Absolutely not, man. And Robert Horry been on Front Street saying that Hakeem is 10 times better than Tim Duncan.
Yeah, but there's also people I've heard say that Scottie Pippen was the best player they ever played with.
We're not getting on Scottie right now.
He going out bad today.
Hey, D-Reed, your mic. Hold on, Leaf. Hey, D-Reed, your mic is tripping, fam. I'm trying to
Sure, what's up with your man Scottie, huh? What's up with your man Scottie? What is he doing to himself?
Let's get back on it. Let's get back on this.
All right. But not Tim Duncan.
Yeah, let's get back on this. Let's get back on this Tim Duncan.
It would be facetious to say that Tim Duncan wasn't didn't have the benefits of having great point guard play. Well, let's say not great, but good point guard play, competent IQ point guard play from Avery Johnson to Speedy Claxton to Tony Parker, and not on top of that, having great playmakers to assist them, right? With Boris Diaw, with Sean Elliott, with Ginobili, great scorers. Like, so it's not if KG was able to have and KG said it himself. He was like, "Yo, I wish I did the Boston thing a long time ago," because he understood that the IQ.
I think y'all sleep on Latrell Sprewell while these Zerbiak.
I'm not sleeping on him, but Wally Zerbiak, we all know he had a bad back. Sam Cassell also had a bad back, and Latrell Sprewell was fighting for money. He had his priorities in the wrong places.
Wally Zerbiak hurt his back banging out. Went on a dunk. Wally Zerbiak doesn't have a bad back. He got hurt because he was chopping. I'm
not. But eventually,
I remember that.
Wally Zerbiak was that dude. I
remember Wally Zerbiak. I remember that.
Was a good player, bro. Like, he was
but he's not better than Ginobili. Can you say that he's better than Ginobili?
Nobody on that Spurs team. There's nobody on that Spurs team in Tim Duncan's tenure that I would put him over, bro. Like, no. There's nobody over there. There's nobody on that Spurs team.
Can you bring some light to this conversation?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So when I think about what Minnesota did in terms of building that unit around him, I don't think that they did a good job. However, I mean, you brought up point guard play. Well, Tim Duncan did play with Tony Parker, a young Tony Parker, but KG also played with Stephon Marbury, and he played with him for 3 years. And it wasn't like Marbury was whack. Marbury was an all-star, right? Now, money was what screwed them up. He also played with Terrell Brandon, who was also an all-star. He was playing. He was playing with some guys who were solid. Never got out of the first round. He only got out of the first round one time. Now, when you think about Kevin Garnett as a player to player between him and Tim Duncan. Well, Tim Duncan, I believe he had a 10-year stretch. When you talk about a defensive player, he had a 10-year stretch where 6 of those 10 years he finished in the top 5 in defensive player of the year, including I think 3 or 4 times he finished in the top 3. Never won. He might be in my opinion. I think he's with the exception of Scottie Pippen, he's the best player in NBA history, not best defensive player, not to win defensive player of the year. When I think about all the other defensive players in the game, that's number one.
Chitchat, this another thing, Chill. I kind of hope you touch down on a little bit. The difference is this. Kevin Garnett could handle Rasheed and Chris Webber and Dirk, but Tim Duncan could handle Shaquille O'Neal and guys like that. KG could not handle.
No.
Are you fighting that? Whoa. Are you guys fighting that?
KG could not deal. KG could not deal with the diesel. Those guys.
Nobody's stopping these guys. Nobody's stopping these guys, but at least deal with them, right? And add that to the fact that you talk about a guy in Kevin Garnett who was one of the better 4 men in the game during that time. And we're talking about a power forward era where Barkley was running around, Malone was running around, Webber was running around, Dirk was running around. With all of that being said, who was the best 4-man in the game?
It was Tim Duncan, but it was
there you go. So not only was it Tim Duncan. It was Tim Duncan consecutively. Even though there were guys in the conversation, at the end of the day, it was Duncan. He was the best 4-man in the game. I know how you feel about Kevin Garnett in terms of his ability to knock down the mid-range. Because guess who else could knock down the mid-range? Tim Duncan had a money mid-range game. How about being on the box? He had a money mid-range game he had a money game on a box. Could score on anybody. Defensively, I just told you, he might be the best player in NBA history not to win Defensive Player of the Year, with the exception of Scottie Pippen. And we're talking about consistency. We're talking about a guy who anchored a top 5 defense for years. Not only did he anchor a top 5 defense for years, we're also talking about a guy in Tim Duncan who none of y'all dudes knew anything about Tony Parker. None of y'all dudes knew anything about Manu Ginobili. And he was taking these dudes to the NBA Finals and the NBA Championship and winning it. Meanwhile, Kevin Garnett, who was in Minnesota, and they weren't doing it. I'm not going to say that they were doing a good job because they weren't doing a good job in building that unit around him. However, at some point, big fella, as good as you are, you can get me out of the first round. You can get me out of the first. If Tim Duncan can get me out of the first round with Tony Parker, who we don't know anything about, and Ginobili, who we don't know anything about, because again, Sean Elliott was already gone. Right? He's getting us out of the first round with Mario Ellie. That's who he's getting us out of the first round with. And David Robinson.
Don't poo-poo on Mario Ellie, Super Mario. Don't poo-poo on him. All right, go ahead.
Give me a break. Because that's what we're going off of. And what I can't discount the most important thing with Tim Duncan is his consistency and the fact that he's a chameleon. Yo, you need 25 a game, I can do that. You only need 18 and 11, I can do that too. Well, all of those things are conducive to who Tim Duncan was, and he was doing that for years while anchoring a top 5 defense.
You know what, Chilltown? Listen, you mentioned a lot of good factors in terms of the players and everything, but we got to put it all in the context. Greg Popovich had a hell of a damn game plan defensively, and it worked defensively. But add on to that, leaving out 99, not leaving out 99 because they won it however they won it, but the 2003 from 2003 to 2007, we got to mention something that came into the game a year before they started winning championships again, and that was something called zone defense. Mm-hmm. Zone defense allowed Tim Duncan. It really maxed out Tim Duncan as an anchor because now you had him in the paint, anchor in the paint, and Tim Duncan was a very, very smart anchor in terms of getting guys and knowing where guys are supposed to be and not falling for fakes and holding your hands up and securing that paint. I give him all the credit in the world. Top 5 defense across the board. Tim Duncan is definitely one of the best players to never win the Defensive Player of the Year. However, we have to shine some light on what Kevin Garnett KG was doing.
Mm-hmm. Did we lose him?
I think you in and out, Leaf. But I wanna try to get Leaf back. But just to add on to the Timberwolves, right? Troy Hudson, right, out of the league in less than maybe 5 years, right? Who was his front court? He was running with guys like Mark Madsen, Tom Gugliotta. Like, so you can highlight some of the bright points, but let's remember there was also Anthony Peeler who was up and down. Like, there's a lot of things that you're taking away. I get what you're saying, but we cannot say that Tim Duncan was not in a more structured environment.
What are we talking about?
Right, that can help.
Hold on for a second. What are we talking about? Because you keep saying Michael Olowokandi, you keep saying Anthony Peeler, but with that being said, my man, Tim Duncan, even though he was in a more structured situation, you don't know who Tony Parker is when he show up, and you don't care. You don't know who Manu Ginobili is when he show up, and you don't care. You don't know who Steven Jackson is when he show up, and you don't care.
Right, but my pushback on that, Chilltown, is that. But we see the Spurs, though, and we see the organization, how they develop their players and stuff. The Timberwolves is arguably is the worst franchise in the history of the NBA. Like, we have the worst winning percentage in NBA history. Like, that's what KG had to deal with, a shit show of an organization. He carried them for 12 years. So, like,
and still managed to win the league MVP in that time. Still managed to win the league MVP. And still managed to be a first-team All-NBA performer. He still managed to do that. Now, if we put KG in a different situation, now we might be having a different conversation. And to Leaf's point, when Leaf talk about zone, Leaf, a lot of that has to do with the fact that Tim Duncan played 4 years of college. So Tim Duncan was familiar with zone defense, as opposed to KG, who didn't go to college. So he's not familiar with zone defense. Now, with that also being said, I can't discount the fact that Tim Duncan played in a better system. I won't discount that. But I cannot knock him for that. So what? I played in a better system, but I produced, because we have a lot of guys who play in great systems, but they don't produce nearly as much as we think that they should. In fact, I believe we call those guys busts.
No, but however, let me just give you one pushback. Hold on, Leaf. Let me just give one pushback. But it's not necessarily we're knocking Tim Duncan, but you're highlighting the fact that he can do 18 and 12. Yeah, if you need only 18 from 12 from me, yeah, I'm cool with that. Like, the thing about it is that KG's responsibility has been always more than Tim Duncan's responsibility, just due to the fact that he has less talent around him. So we have to give an extra point, in my opinion. We have to give an extra point to KG for carrying the load, being the offensive engine. Everything ran through KG in Minnesota at that point. You know what I mean? Until he was able to get some help, and finally Sam Cassell was able to, once they got Sam Cassell, that team looked completely different with a competent point guard. You know what I'm saying?
That's the first time they've been out the first round in the history of their careers. The first time they've been out the first round.
And they're going against real quick. Yeah, let me see. My bad context. I thought you was done, bro. I was just gonna see if Durant had anything to.
Okay. Go ahead. For sure.
But oh no.
Oh, go.
Oh no, I didn't really have much to add to it. I don't really like the argument about talent being around players and using that against them. I feel like Tim Duncan was drafted to the Spurs, and then they built that system around Tim Duncan. Everyone else benefited off him, not the other way around. And I feel like it's a little bit of a trade-off. It's kind of the same thing with, like, people say with Tatum, and I'm a Celtics fan. It's like that system only works, and what they're doing is if he's on. And I know they've had games here or there where the role players do have, significant games, and that happens. It's basketball. But to sit up here and kind of say, like, well, he had Manu, he had a great team, he had this, that. Yeah, he did. But those players benefited a lot from Tim Duncan. They benefited a lot from the attention that he got around the elbow, around the post area. So, I think it's a trade-off. But then again, those players benefit more from Tim Duncan being on the floor than Tim Duncan benefited from them. That's kind of how I view it with superstar players.
But how did the Spurs get Tim Duncan though?
I think the overall theme of this, bro, is one of the reasons why I say at player to player, I take Kevin Garnett over Tim Duncan, but all time I take Tim Duncan over KG. I don't even think KG is top 10, obviously. But one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I know what KG had to endure. And I know we're talking about a dude that led that team in every statistical category almost year in and year out, in terms of and leading the league in minutes. Like, he ain't have no nights off, and dealing with the power forward position when it was stacked to the teeth.
It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare.
Every night there was somebody. One night you had
I got to deal with Weber. I got to deal with Weber.
McDice. One night
I got to deal with McDice. I got to deal with Nowitzki, and then I got to deal with this dude and this dude, and I got to deal like, what is going on?
Then Rasheed, then Amari came through. That was such a good
time. Fellas, this is by himself. That's the thing.
And to touch on another thing, Chilltown, this KG was too skinny to play before at one point. He had to play the three, remember?
Leaf. He should have took his young ass to school then.
Come on, what are we doing?
I did feel like when he was.
That's why he didn't go to college.
He wanted to go to school. He wanted to go to school.
I'm not gonna give no kid no excuse.
He did want to go to school. He did.
Pass the test.
He did want to go to school, though.
Life is hard for a lot of people, man. They need to get that chicken, man. She'll know that. It's not the bread.
Hey, look, hold on, Leaf. Hold on. Context. I said that to everybody. And when it's time, when they can give you that check, get your ass to that league and go get that check.
That's a fact.
But look, if you go get that check, I don't care why. I'm not gonna be out here like, when he was young. He only weighed $180 soaking wet.
Those two things don't. They They don't work,
Yeah,
Lee.
no.
Those two things don't work. They don't.
But
you can't have it both ways.
it don't
No,
work,
it's just-
bro. But the difference with KG broke down that wall. He broke down that fifth wall. But without him, there is no Kobe straight out of high school. There is no T-Mac straight out of high school. There is no LeBron James straight out of high
100%.
school. You know
I thought he was
saying?
gonna. I thought he was gonna fall on his face, Leaf. I thought he was gonna fail.
I thought he was
I did.
too. But the way the power forward position was going, it went from muscle to finesse, like pretty much overnight. Because the muscle guys like Malone, Barkley,
they couldn't keep up with him. They couldn't keep up.
They was pushed out. They was pushed out because the game was getting less physical, and now you got the finesse dudes in there, and they was tall and they was versatile. KG was like one of the first dudes to take you off the dribble from the perimeter and guard on the perimeter. He was one of the first dudes to do that at the 3. You put him at the 3 or the 4, and then later in his career, he wound up playing center with the way the game was going with pick and pop. So my thing with KG is, bro, like in terms of the player, bro, it's not too many people that I put KG over at the power forward position outside of Duncan.
I got him third.
Who you got?
Yeah, we can rank them the greatest.
Hey, real quick, y'all. I want to say one more thing, y'all, and then we got to get back to some super chats because we're starting to run low on time. But and you know, like I said, y'all know I love KG. That's like one of my favorite. It's him and Scottie Pippen, my favorite players of all time. But I do got to say this though. I believe that if him and Duncan switched spots, Duncan would have made something better happen in Minnesota.
No.
I highly doubt that.
He would have made something better.
You got to remember who you talk about. Now remember who we talking about. So first of all, to answer your question, Lee, I thought Malone was better than KG. That's number one. Number two, if you look at when they both came into the league, right? So we're talking about an adult in Tim Duncan. Played 4 years of college, right? Played 4 years of college, was mature, was ready, played the 5, knew the game. KG coming right out of high school. He's getting on that San Antonio unit full of vets. Not only are they full of vets, they not that far away. Tim Duncan was the difference. I don't think that if you put KG on that unit, he's the difference. And now they're in the NBA Finals a year later. I don't think that happens.
I think you do. And I want to explain. And I
at
want to
19 years old,
I want to explain why, because at that time, the league, like you had to grow up quick in the league. You know what I'm saying? So like it was a no.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, Leaf. Nope, I'm not going to give you that because Kobe Bryant.
Yes,
no, you didn't.
Because there wasn't that many young guys. It wasn't that many young guys. That's why you had.
Yeah, because KG was hooping with MJ. In the summer before getting drafted,
so he was
already getting that.
Veterans.
You know, he was playing with vets and Scotty and all these guys.
In the league, you know what I'm saying?
But that's the difference. Gates, I'm sorry. Keep going.
You had to man up quick.
Well, when you're that good, Leaf, you can play pickup ball with these guys if you're talented enough. But that's different from a season.
I want to hear Leaf's point, but keep going.
No. The thing is, the reason why I said you had to grow up quick is something that Kobe Bryant harped on, bro. When he got in the league, he said, "Yo, I couldn't go to clubs. I couldn't go out. Only thing I had to work on, only thing I cared about was the game." The same thing could be applied to Kevin Garnett because he couldn't go nowhere neither.
Kevin Garnett was in the club, Lee.
He was.
But if in San Antonio, he gonna be in the club in San Antonio? Doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it.
But if that's San Antonio, bro, down in Texas, I highly doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Now, to your point, Leaf, you coming into the league full of men. It's not, the league ain't like it is today where you got a bunch of young guys. You coming into a league full of men. Right. Not only are you coming into a league full of men, you coming into a league full of coaches who, unless you are extraordinary right from the beginning, you're not going to get that opportunity.
100%.
You are not going to get that opportunity. So when I look at a guy like Kevin Garnett, who was awesome, don't get me wrong, he was awesome in Minnesota, but when he gets to San Antonio with Sean Elliott, with David Robinson, with Avery Johnson, with Mario Elliott, with these guys, they're not looking at him like that. They're looking at him like this high school kid is getting on our crew. He's going to have to learn, as opposed to Tim Duncan, who did it the way it was customary, where he got on the crew playing 4 years of college. Yeah. Yo, this dude is ready right now.
He feel like a hand in a glove. Absolutely. And the thing is, and one of the things, I get your point on, it might have taken maybe like a couple of years for KG in terms of like maturing and then getting around to how the NBA is structured, how you're supposed to manage your body and the professionalism and everything of the league. And I think KG adjusted to that quickly in Minnesota. Well, I think he adjusted to it as quickly as Minnesota. So judging off the fact of that and judging off the mindset that you had to be a grown up and be a grown up quick, yo, this is the game, this is how we play, and this is how you got to focus. I honestly think he may have taken it like maybe another year. I give him, he came in the league 95. I give him like 99, maybe 2000. He probably would have had a championship.
Yeah.
Because you got to remember, he came into the league 2 years.
San Antonio,
remember, he came into the in San Antonio, I give him around the same exact time. If we're talking about he getting drafted to San Antonio in 95, with the way that team was and everything that's
KG by 99 could definitely beat the Knicks with David Robinson. Yes.
That Tim Duncan did.
Yes.
Well, can we say the same thing about Duncan? So Duncan comes into the league in 1995 because he went to school. So can we say the same thing about Duncan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But in Minnesota, I don't know. We don't know because Minnesota was it wasn't that built of a franchise. The thing is, San Antonio was missing a piece that Duncan ended up providing and wore, and it turned out to 22 years, 50 wins, 5 championships, and all of this other stuff.
Never missed the playoffs not one time. Never missed the playoffs.
But here's the key. The key is that.
All right, real quick, Leaf, is that you, Leaf? I mean, Low.
Yeah, this is me.
Low down in the house.
Is my mic good though? Is it good?
Yeah, you're good. Low down in the house. What up, Low down?
I'm here to just debunk the lies that are being told about Tim Duncan because it's coming from a bunch of people who clearly are not familiar with what was going on in San Antonio at that time.
Talk to him, Low down. Talk to him.
You're coming up here.
This is about talk to him, Low down.
I already know.
What a finale.
Talk to him, Low down. You dudes have no doubt. You dudes have no doubt. No idea.
Let him talk.
I'm sorry.
And what makes it worse is that there's a bunch of people in the chats who also don't know either. This concept that Tim Duncan went into this perfect situation or this ideal situation or the situation that you could plug in Kevin Garnett and you would have seen similar success.
I tried to tell him though without actually saying it.
It's nothing but a bunch of lies. That's a lie. Tim Duncan went to a situation in a ball club where Popovich was essentially a rookie head coach, an organization that only saw one conference finals appearance before he got there. And we're talking about a team that was significantly different from what they were all throughout majority of the 90s, especially when it came to David Robinson. That team went on to win a championship in year 2 of Tim Duncan. Duncan in his 3rd year to further prove how far removed they were from actually competing without Duncan. In Duncan's 3rd year, he got hurt before the playoffs started, and that team couldn't get past the first round without Tim Duncan.
Hold on, Lo, before you go any further. Just so you guys know, they didn't lose in the first round. They got bounced in round 1. Keep going, Lo. I'm sorry. They got bounced.
Is that Lo's mic pop? The background noise is a little bit of background noise. I don't know if it's low.
Is that me? No,
that's you. You go, Lo. You go.
Not only did they get bounced, they lost to a Phoenix Suns team who was missing their best player for most of the series in Jason Kidd. That Suns team was so desperate for guard play, they called Kevin Johnson out of retirement for him to try to play on that Phoenix Suns team. That's how bad that Suns team was. And this is a Kevin
Johnson in year 16, by the way.
Right. Yes.
Right. Keep going, Lo. Keep going, Lo. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Keep going.
For the fact that team could not get past the first round, is that me, Bell?
I think it might be you, Lo. I think so, man.
I don't think so. But keep going, Lo. If that team couldn't get that,
if it is, I'll just go to my computer. The fact that that team couldn't get past the first round against an injured Phoenix Suns team, and in the process of not doing so, if you go back and you go look at it, David Robinson was an egregiously bad offensive piece at that time because even when he was going up against Luke Longley, who was in the end of his career, who retired after that season. Even when he was going up against him, David Robinson in that series shot below 40% from the field. That was not a good team as y'all make it out to be.
Translation, folks, David Robinson best years was behind him. Keep going, Lo.
He was well behind him. Make it even more important, this idea that it was a system, this elaborate scheme, because I saw that in the chat as well around Tim Duncan, is also a lie. Once more, Tim Duncan was essentially a rookie head coach. They were basically just running the entire offense through post-ups between Tim Duncan and David Robinson. There was not no elaborate schemes of,
agreed.
Let's throw the ball in the post and then you move and now you do an
No, agreed for sure, for sure.
It was
all mainly like 1-4 post-ups. Yes,
that's all it was. And FYI, Garnett would not be able to produce in that type of an offensive scheme at all.
Wait, wasn't Kate?
At
all. No. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I disagree with that call.
Come on, seriously, fellas? We telling me that KG doesn't have no low post moves? He would be able to do so?
Nobody's saying that he doesn't have low post moves, but here's the difference. Here's the difference to what Lo is saying. He ain't saying that he doesn't have low post moves. KG is going to play primarily on the box, and we're going to run the offense primarily on the box through you, a young KG who was a rail at that point.
Thank you. No, young KG.
That's not happening.
No, he is not.
No,
he's not.
It's not
he's
happening.
Not doing it.
No.
So and then I know he wouldn't, because even as he progressed and got older, and even when they put offensive weapons around him like in 04, he still was not as good as a low post scorer as Duncan. So no, there was never a point in time where as a low post scorer he was as good as Tim Duncan. He just wasn't. But the biggest part that that people are really y'all blowing me with is that all this is revisionist history. All this stuff is that y'all looking things through hindsight and saying, "Oh, it was Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili and David Robinson." That's it. Just those players were not who y'all think that they were.
No,
in their second championship, TP and Manu were rookies and sophomores.
Right.
In 2003, that roster was filled with a bunch of players who had no chemistry, no continuity, who were only on the team for like 2 years at most. Steven Jackson was not Steven Jackson at that time. He just
was still IQ. Like, all right, go ahead, go my fault.
Just so you know,
how many years do you think Steven Jackson was in the NBA when he got there? How many years?
And just so you guys know, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Lo, because I'm gonna let you keep going. Just so you guys know, Tony Parker in 2003 when they were in the NBA Finals, the conversation was Jason Kidd was coming there to replace Tony Parker.
Yeah, that's a fact.
I'm sorry.
I remember that.
But keep going.
And not only Jason Kidd, we can even fast forward even further when they were looking to move off of Tony Parker because George Hill was starting playoff games over him.
That's a fact.
So this idea that Tony Parker was this sound, consistent guard, that's not who he was.
But nobody's saying that. It's saying
nobody brought that up. Low.
But the conversation was KG and Duncan. If KG was there, the point I'm making is KG was there. I promise you, the players that y'all think they turned out to be this good and they were quote unquote developed would not have been developed as well as they were because the catalyst of the development, the catalyst of the consistency, the catalyst of them winning was Tim Duncan. Even when he started to regress,
Tim Duncan is teaching Tony Parker how to make a mid-range jump shot. That's I don't understand.
No. Tim Duncan is allowing him to get the learning curve, to get the offense down packed, so we can weather the storm of you making mistakes every single year. Because I, at bare minimum, will be able to anchor a top 10 defense while you fumble and piss away offensive possessions.
This is true. Okay, I can give that. No.
I'm cleaning up your messes. That's what I'm doing.
That's
on the regular. I'm cleaning up your messes on the regular. That's what I'm doing. In addition to having to score the basketball too. But keep going,
Constance. Yes, in addition to having to be the offensive catalyst.
Right.
But it's not. The thing about it is that we're not highlighting Tony Parker to say like he's the end all be and he was the difference maker and these are things. We're not saying that. We're just saying that compared to KG, the competency and the structure that was built around Tim Duncan, it was a little bit more. It was more beneficial.
No, it was better. Yeah,
that's what we're saying. It wasn't.
You're saying that's all that was said, bro.
But no. What y'all said was you can put KG in that situation
right.
to win.
And it's not that simple.
And the reality is, if that was the case, then you would have to explain to me why is it that most top 10 players or most top 15, 20, 30 players of all time couldn't win in a situation similar to Tim Duncan's, because majority of those players could not win unless they were playing alongside an all-NBA caliber player, multiple all-NBA caliber players. When Tim Duncan was winning in 03, there was no all-NBA caliber player on his roster. So someone would have to explain to me why is it all of a sudden you think KG can do things that Magic Johnson couldn't do, that Kobe Bryant couldn't do, that Michael Jordan couldn't do. You just say there and say on a team that has no All NBA players on the roster, oh yeah, KG will be able to do that. But somehow everybody else in NBA history struggled to do that. Why?
In fact, let's take it a step. Let's take it a step further than that, Lo. In fact, KG didn't have any All NBA performance. He didn't have any All League defenders on his roster. He was getting bounced in round 1 every year.
So you had to explain to me why you think that KG would be able to do that, even though majority of the top 20 players of all time also couldn't do that. Why?
See, Lo, you going way off board. All we really talked about was the time that Kevin Garnett got drafted, which is in 1995. I said by 1999, the way the trajectory of that team was going by 99, if you draft them at the same time and put them on different teams. As at 95, KG goes to San Antonio. 97, Tim Duncan goes to Minnesota. I think it's a lot different, but really more the same. 99, we got to remember, he played 4 years of college. Whatchamacallit came straight out of high school. So from 95, that 99 season, yes, I think that Kevin Garnett would have won a championship with San Antonio, but we can't prove that, obviously. We just talking hypotheticals. This whole shit was brought up in hypotheticals about who you rather, bro. It's all opinionated. You got up in here and told me all about this history all after the fact that we already know. I understand.
Yeah, that's what I think the confusion only came.
My thing is, but hold on. Because you went on. My thing was like I think we was only going off the first couple of years. That's all we was doing, and that's all that was talked about.
I know you're trying to defend yourself right now, and I hate to be that guy, but you know it's about that
2
time.
hours. Yeah. 2 hours.
I love you. You should have popped up earlier. We needed that energy.
Hey, real quick before y'all go.
I love to see Leaf get cooked.
Real quick before y'all go. Adrian Griffin, Milwaukee Bucks head coach.
Really?
Oh wow.
Yeah, they passed on Nick Nurse. Yeah, they passed on Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse pulled out, so Adrian Griffin is the head man.
Adrian Gray. Yeah, I remember Adrian Griffin. He used to play for Dallas, right?
Chill, you know what that is. Look, chill. You know what that is.
No, to be honest with you, I actually like that because now what we're doing is we're getting some new blood in here. That's what we're doing. We're not recycling these bad coaches.
He used to play for Dallas, right?
Not only did he play for Nick Nurse. You're not high on Nick Nurse.
No, Nick Nurse. That's what you call it. Nick Nurse. That's the guy Mazzulla. That's his job in Boston. That's Nick Nurse's job.
Nurse is going to Celtics.
That's his job.
Listen, I'm gonna leave right now. But before I go, bro, listen, Miami better get this shit done. I'm not bullshitting, bro.
Yeah,
we'll see here soon.
Yo, if Boston come back and win this, I'm calling fix. I don't care how it happened, bro.
Hey, Lo. Next time, pop up a little earlier so you could cook context and leave a little.
Nah,
he
just started ranting about nothing, bro.
No, he didn't. No, he did not. Low down is in the house, my dude. I'm gonna tell you right now, Lo. I had yesterday on the panel. We had a guy. Yo, I didn't appreciate that. Lo called you up and you didn't show up to the Twitch. I'm like, me and Lo fight all the time. Where else do you want us to fight at? You want us to fight in the street? You want us to fight in the mall? You want us to fight on the block? How much more do you want me and Lo to go at it? We go at it all the time. What else do you want? Damn.
I don't even know what I had said, but I guess it probably would have been an ongoing conversation we had on the panel or something.
Man, that's all it is, Lo. But now, yo, I didn't appreciate that Lo invited you and you didn't. I'm like, me and Lo fight all the time. What are you talking about?
They're bloodthirsty heathens. That's what it is.
Yeah, me and Lo go at it all the time.
And I didn't even know y'all were doing this today. So yeah,
I'm so glad Lo came in here though and put some more perspective on what I was saying because he just all Lo was doing was just echoing what I was saying. And I'm a big KG fan, but to talk about KG like you could just take Tim Duncan off that unit and put KG on that unit, it'd be the same thing. I'm like, no,
Yeah, we go Saturdays too now, not just Wednesdays.
Okay, so
yes, sir.
But
yes, sir.
I'm about.
All right, Low down.
All right, Lo. Appreciate you. Okay, so let's knock out these quick super chats and then we could get on with the day and get ready for this this closeout game in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Mm-hmm.
So do we already do this?
Read that.
Yeah, we did. We did. Okay, I thought so.
Yep.
Okay. Let me move on real quick. From Malin. Chill. Most people have Jamal the bottom half of their top 10 point guard list. I think we've seen enough to put him there, considering who the other guys are in those spots.
I think Jamal Murray, he's in that Brunson, Darius Garland. I think he's in that category. I'm cool with that. But when we start talking about him like Luka, we start talking about him like Curry, like easy. Hang on.
Honestly, I think Jamal is right above that Jalen Brunson tier. I think he's in that Shea, De'Aaron, Ja. I think he's right. I think he might be getting right under there. I think he's pretty close to that. Alpha JJ. Shout out to y'all for making my day go by faster at work. What's your guys' thoughts on the Scotty situation?
Did
you hear that?
Yeah, I hate it, man. I hate calling Jay a horrible player, and he was a horrible teammate. And I'm like, Scotty, what's really the problem with you, brother? I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that you don't appreciate the fact that you only looked at as a complimentary player. Right. I can get with that logic, brother. But with that all being said, you were still awesome.
Right.
You were fantastic. This dude sitting to my left, he thinks you're a top 10 player all time. So, I mean, it's not like I think you're a top 25 player all time. So it's not like you were just a good player. You were awesome. So I'm trying to figure out where this energy is coming from, man. You benefited a lot from playing with Jay. A lot. Just like he benefited playing with you. You benefited playing with him.
Facts. Maybe it's that midlife crisis time or something for Scotty. Who knows?
Damn, I don't like it, Ox. I don't at all, man.
It's a weird energy. It's a weird energy. From Cam, if MJ played against plumbers and firemen and LeBron played against podcasters and Twitch streamers, what is the slander names for Kobe's comp?
I'm telling you, it's going to be something similar to that. But you watch. I'm telling you right now, Cam, you watch. What are we in 2023? 20 years from now, Kobe Bryant will be removed almost 40 years from the NBA. Watch.
They're gonna say Kobe played with thugs and stuff like that.
Street dudes and thugs, and he wasn't really that good. And I'm telling you, you're gonna want to commit homicide when you hear that. Watch.
From Sean Peace. If the Celtics come back from 3-0, do we look at Jimmy's playoff run differently?
Yes, we do. Absolutely. 100%. To squander a 3-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals? Yes. You had 4 games to win 1, and you couldn't do it.
That's despicable. You better get it done, Jimmy. Ethan, depressed Cavs fan, came back with another one. He said, that list that Fluent brought in on Fluent and Chill really opened my eyes. People don't give Timmy the respect. He's a top 5 player all time. I was born in 2001, so I need to go back and watch more. But Tim accomplished a lot.
Yes, he did. He was awesome. Like I said, I got him at 8 all time.
Yeah. Let me see. Okay, this is the last super chat of the day. From Doug. If Celtics lose, when are we going to talk about the player the media pushed as top 5, Tatum? Super team since he was drafted. Most privileged player ever.
Man, Doe, knock it out. Knock it off, Doe. What you sound like right now, Doe, is you just sound like a dude that just wants to talk bad about somebody. That's all you want to do. You don't want to talk about the fact that how good he's been, the fact that he's improved every year. All you want to talk about is him just being a playoff dropper, quote unquote. When are we going to talk about the most privileged player ever? Really? The most privileged player ever? So we haven't had guys like Magic show up to the league having Jabbar on his crew, right? We haven't had that. We haven't had a guy like Larry Bird with that team built around him, but he's the most privileged player ever. Get out of here with that nonsense, man. I don't like stuff like that. I don't, because what you don't do is you only see one side of it, and that boils me. That boils my blood, because you got to see both sides of it and how much he's improved. Yes, if they were to lose this year, they would be going backwards, even though he had a career year this year. Don't leave that part out, though. The fact that he had a career year this year, he wasn't good. This is his best year this year, but you want to talk about him like he sucked.
Yeah, that's crazy. Well, viewers, Chill Town, everybody, we have come to the end of a great show. Chill Town, thank you for your time, like always. Man, well, y'all enjoy the game tonight. Got anything for him, Chill Town?
Hey, don't drink and drive. Take it light, but take it. And we will see you guys. We'll be back Monday on the panel, me and Big Eye.